It is embarrassing, the kind of people that have been standing publicly with Super Mega. They are not above denouncing the hate that Lex is receiving.
Lex, you deserved a lot better. As I said before, do not harass anyone that was mentioned in this video. I'm not sending any harassment.
They are horrible people. There are a lot of people theorizing the secret reasons that I must have had to make this video in bad faith. I made a hit piece on Matt and Ryan for attention and clout. There was an organized attempt to cancel Super Mega. I am one of the main people behind this attack. But I just want to make it clear that I am absolutely not a stranger to hate campaigns like this. Sneeko, ban him from the platform. Go to his channel pages and report the user. I would risk my career to ruin someone else's YouTube channel. Should not have been mentioned in anyone's videos about the situation. I, of course, decided to include it as valuable information. I am not friends with Layden. I do not like Layden, yet I still reported on his word. I have suppressed anything in the comments of these videos. I am acting in complete dishonesty. That is the definition of attacking someone in bad faith. You cannot say you want to be held accountable until you actually say what you did.
Halloween is upon us, my friends. You're not my friend, actually. You are literally a parasocial maggot that I am uninterested in getting to know. That's your punishment. You get me being honest with you to your face directly. Dude! Yup, that's me. Just a completely normal dude. Last week, NickisNotGreen uploaded a video dedicated to addressing the drama, as he puts it, between himself and Super Mega. This is the prime video that me and Tom will be discussing throughout this conversation. And while I'm aware that Nick has now released another portion of a video talking about this situation in a much more apologetic fashion, it also seems like he has completely privated that video where he was addressing the situations in a more, I guess, hostile way or whatever, which is, again, what me and Tom are going to be discussing. So yeah, a lot of flip-flopping from our friend Nick, but either way, hopefully you enjoy this discussion, and I will be, covering his new statement in the near future. Thank you for listening, and give your mother a hug.
Grease, what's up, guys?
Bro. You're greasy. You should be the #1 proponent of my fucking heritage.
I am extremely. Everyone calls me greasy. They're right. I'm greasy. Yeah. So NickisNotGreen's response. You haven't seen it yet.
Yes, I haven't.
Wow.
I'm actually busy juicing some stuff that you know about, but yes, I haven't seen it fully. I saw some clips. Bernie has been plugging me, into kind of like some of the more nuanced details and stuff like that. But yes, I haven't seen it. So what?
How much should I front load you with it? Like, do you want me to not spoil it? Like
no,
Five Nights at Freddy's movie?
No, you're good. No, this isn't my Five Nights at Freddy's movie. Okay, that'll be fucking like something else. I don't know.
The first thing about the video that I noticed as soon as I clicked it was I was expecting it to be about twice as long. Most of Nick's videos are relatively, like decently like 20 to 30 minutes, and this video itself is just 20 flat.
Right.
Which, especially considering his other two videos were, I think the first one on Super Mega was 40 minutes. The second one was an hour or so. This I thought was quite short. And in that way, he managed to spend 20 minutes being pretty concise about basically quadrupling down about his positions.
Okay.
The only thing he really walked back in any way was the Daniel Kyer stuff. And he basically tried to absolve himself a little bit. He was like, I only talked about it for 30 seconds, but I should have never talked about it. At least there's that. Another big win, to stay on positive notes, is the first two videos are now unlisted. They don't come up in search results. That's a big win in my eyes.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's like, it's not just a matter of being a win. It's like, Lex herself unlisted her original video saying that she didn't want to bring more attention to the situation, you know what I mean? So that was like a big kind of thing that I was saying, where it's like, okay, if your main goal was to support Lex, that was literally like the foundation of his claim, then I was just like, okay, well then why is this still public? You know what I mean? Like, does he give a shit? I don't know. I'm assuming he claims like that the reason for unlisting it was for Lex, or does he just not mention it and it's just like unlisted?
He says that Lex is being harassed, and he compares Lex being harassed to him being harassed because of him going after Sneeko, and he also compares it to I think the Gus Johnson situation, in which I guess Sabrina was harassed. So he makes those two comparisons, and he's tying that all together.
Those are like his flashpoints then of like where he defended friends and took a lot of heat for it, right?
Exactly, yeah, and he does specifically say it in like in that manner. He's like, this happened, this happened, this happened. I did the right thing. Victims are always shit on the internet. I'm
Really?
trying to mitigate that.
So he's
Yeah.
equating this situation to that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Wow.
And it gets worse than that. One of the biggest problems for me is that in this video he kind of tries to make it out like his prior videos were simply reporting allegations by people like Leighton. While he does in the video, he acknowledges the personal stake, which I think previously he did deny.
Right.
I think he said nobody asked you to make this video. There's no conspiracy.
No, this is what Bernie plugged me into. Actually, he explicitly said that when Lex and Ethan, I think, told Nick about this, right? When he was told about it, he asked to make a video about it.
I wanted Lex's story to be told. That's my priority. I was never once told by Layden to make a video. And when Lex was preparing her story, I was given permission by her to cover it. It was never something that I suggested to Lex, but when she mentioned it, I decided to share her story because she's a friend of mine.
And now, literally, he's claiming that
Lex posted her story, and I was asked by her and Ethan to potentially talk about it on my channel because I've talked about similar situations in the past.
They actually asked him to make a video about
Exactly.
it. So already I'm like, this guy's not even a fucking reliable narrator, you know what I mean? That's like a pretty big detail that he slipped into his response, and now which one's true? I don't know. And does it really matter? I don't know.
That is a big question. He claims as far as like Leighton's claims and stuff like that, instead of saying like Leighton is like a pathological liar, he says like Leighton made mistakes, which he does throw Leighton under the bus, but still like the phrasing, just to get nitpicky, it did bother me.
Okay.
Another thing about the response that bothered me is he basically writes it off as like, well, it was impartial reporting. I was reporting on it, and it's like, it's not just reporting. If you had made a video like these are the super mega allegations, and you had said like they're allegations, I don't know what the case is here, I would have been like way more sympathetic because I mean I do that, right? I'd be a giant hypocrite I'd be a giant hypocrite to have a problem with reporting. The bigger problem to me is uncritically repeating allegations as fact. It wasn't a situation where he was saying like, we don't know if this is true or not, who knows. It was a very, very heavily biased video where he took it all as truth, as fact. And even within the video, within this follow-up video, he says himself, he's like, the reason why I thought Leighton could be trusted was because he worked with Super Mega. And it's like, is the standard of evidence for believing someone outright just they knew a person? Like, to me, no. You can say that adds some credibility, but you don't know that person. You don't know what you don't know what they're going to say, and ultimately, you don't know what the response could be from the other side. And so that was a big point of frustration for me. One thing he also says is quite interesting is he says he wishes instead of making the 2 videos off the bat, he wishes he had made one video way after the fact to recap all of it instead of the multiple update videos. And his justification for that is because he thinks he's claiming the reason people are mad is because the first video became out of date very quick. That's in his view, which in my mind is like, yeah, exactly.
Like in my mind, if that's really the logic he's claiming now, in my mind, it's like, okay, so then he really did view this as like shit they couldn't come back from, you know what I mean? Like he would almost be like, this would be the, what would you say? Like the fucking, the nail in the, You'd be like hammered in, you know what I mean? The Super Mega guys.
This is another thing that's strange about his response because he in the previous videos, I don't know if there's a specific quote I could talk about the vibe or feeling.
Sure. I mean, he talks about the vibe or feeling of Jim's fucking own video talking about, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like of all people, I feel like for Nick, you know, you can talk about the vibe he gives off and all that.
Yeah. So, well, the vibe I got from, you know, his actions, like, let's say showing Jim's face and being like, look at this fucking freak, stuff like that. Or
that's
for
in the
example,
original video, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or for example, in the original video as well, just to be specific, showing like Matt Watson getting punched out and being like, let's just replay this a few times from the comments about how their videos suck and they're falling off. He even makes one of those in this recent video. Those all lead me to believe that he's sort of preying on their downfall. And so it's strange to me that in this subsequent video, the latest, you know, apology addressing whatever you want to call it, in this video, he basically says, well, you know, like I didn't really have a big personal stake. I didn't want Super Mega to go down. Like it's up to everyone else what happens. Right. I was just talking about it. And it's like, I think it's clear to anyone that watched those videos that he did have a very big problem with Super Mega to a personal level. And another like within that claim itself, he's like, I feel like a lot of people like didn't even watch my videos, and it's like, really? Like that's really like, you think nobody, like, they have 800,000 views, the other one has 500,000 or had. Yeah, his claim is like, I feel like nobody even watched my videos. They're all taking bad faith arguments and saying it's a conspiracy. He simultaneously tries to. My prediction for Lex is she's going to try to put down the quote unquote conspiracy angle, which to me is obvious. Like, you can call it conspiracy, you can not call it conspiracy. It basically is just to say that Leighton talked to all these people and they all decided around the same time to come out. And it was and it was all related. I'm not saying that there was like some shadowy cabal going on, like in a literal sense, but it's like people talk to other people. They decide to come out at the same time. Morgue Pie herself, she comes out because Lex comes out, and then after that, Morgue Pie talks about how Leighton's going to come out and it's going to ruin Super Mega. Then Leighton comes out. And so it's like, it's not that hard to like draw, connect the dots. So you can see them publicly talking about it, right? Like they've all publicly said, this person talked to me, this other person talked to me. Morgue Pie said that she talked to, I want to say Lex and Leighton. And Nick said that he talked to Ethan and Lex. So it's not that hard to draw the thread and see like these people were in contact. Maybe they weren't, in the same exact group chat on Discord,
right?
But they were talking to each other. So yeah, that was another frustrating part of the video, this sort of focus on this conspiracy angle. And to be honest, that is something I expected them to go over, as far as trying to make that point of like, there's no conspiracy or whatever. Another thing I found interesting is, keep in mind, this video is 20 minutes long.
Yeah.
My video was 2.5 hours.
Right.
Certainly there's no way he could cover all the ground from that video in this, relatively short video.
Yeah.
It is literally impossible. He ignores the homelessness story for the most part. He's like, well, Lex just was talking about her experience of being hurt and she deserves to be supported for that. I disagree, but whatever.
Like, you're saying that the homelessness story is relevant, or what do you mean?
He basically says like, well, the homelessness story was relevant because it was part of Lex's story about how her life fell apart around these allegations. So that's what he says. Okay. And I'm saying like I feel like that's where I've already explained why 100 times. I don't think Nick needs to hear why again. So yeah, overall, like, it's a pretty bad response. It's actually not really getting that many views. It has 60,000 views in 9 hours.
Yeah.
The original Super Mega videos had hundreds of thousands of views within 9 hours.
Right.
So it's pretty crazy to see that. The comment section is all basically just, calling him a piece of shit.
Right.
I'm very curious how this is going to go for him long term. Ultimately, I'm not here to piss on his grave, really.
Right.
I'm here to, like, the goal of my video was to sort of correct the record. I think with his videos down, with this video from him out, with everyone seeing how bullshit it is, I think that's been done. So I'm not even going to make a personal response on my channels. Yeah. But I totally respect someone like you who would want to farm it a little bit because, whatever,
fucking
right?
Exclusive scoop. Turkey Tom's response. Fucking blast that out into the world. Hell yeah. No,
true. Except for I did call Destiny for a bit on stream, but that was much shorter. Okay. And then he decided to stop watching the video after I called him. He was like, I don't care anymore. Bye.
Really?
So, yeah. He was like 3 minutes into Nick's video. I came in and talked to him for like 20 minutes. And he was like, okay, bye. So I left and he was like, okay, I don't want to watch this loser's video anymore.
Ah, okay. Nice.
Yeah. I think mentally he's done with the situation.
Right. I think that from what I remember, it seemed like he actually made up his mind extremely quickly. Like, if that makes sense. Yeah. After talking to you. Like the initial time or whatever. Sorry, did he watch your video, or what was like the response?
He watched all of it on stream, yeah. And I think he was it was late at night. He watched it. Honestly, he didn't seem that interested. He did watch all the way through it. He had some commentary. There was like a 40-minute VOD posted to his Last Night on Destiny channel, but he seemed overall, like, from the beginning, he made a character assessment that was true all the way through, and past that point, I think he kind of lost interest a little bit.
Right.
But in fairness, his character assessment, I think, was accurate. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. In terms of, like, specifically how you're feeling about the video now that it's come out or whatever.
Nick's?
Sorry, yours.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm curious what your feelings are. If you're feeling, like, I understand it's very nebulous right now because it's like still, you're in the middle of like people responding and stuff like that. But yeah, because in my mind, it's like this is a like what you did, which is basically like a very comprehensive coverage of like the entire situation. it's like a monumental task, and I don't think that there's many people who would even fucking begin to like want to do that. You know what I mean? So a lot of work obviously went into it. I'm just curious if you have like, I don't know, any fucking this isn't like, you don't need to give like any big statement. It's just like, is there any like philosophy you have right now? You know, what's your mental state?
Sure. Yeah, I mean, first of all, obviously the video is not just made by me. I'd like to thank, I don't know if everyone involved wants to be named, but those who were involved did an amazing job. You and I were obviously talking behind the scenes. You watched the video and reviewed it and gave me some tips that we did use to change the video. And I do really appreciate that. That was really good. Yeah, overall, I'm very pleased with the video. I think that honestly, as a video, now that I've seen it a few times, it's somewhat boring. But if you're interested in the situation itself, then obviously you're going to be, you know, gripping edge of your seat all the way through, like I was when I watched it for the first time when it was all the way done. Overall, I'm very pleased with the video, with the reception. I think we did a very good job of sticking to what we could prove and not, you know, claiming what we couldn't prove.
Yeah, that was that was what I was like a bit fixated on, where it's like, just, you know what I mean, like just let people, if you can have like as much information as you want, but like some conclusions you can't like explicitly state, you know what I mean? Otherwise you're kind of doing what Nick was doing, if that makes sense.
Ultimately, another thing I'm glad we did is the video doesn't harp on character assassination or intention too much. It mostly just harps on what happened, why what happened is not good, who did what happened. That's it. It pretty much ends there. Like at the end of the video, the ending of the video is like, why did any of this happen? I don't fucking know. Goodbye. And that's it. And that was intentional because I didn't want to like end it on some big like sanctimonious like note about like, and that's why this and this, like, it's just like, obviously everyone knows like when you're covering sexual assault allegations, you have to take it seriously. These people did not. This is why they didn't take it seriously. This is why you probably shouldn't trust them about topics like this. I'm out, and that's it. And I think I did a good job of that. And I hope ultimately, this is going to sound a little conceited, but I hope the video is educational for those who watch it, both for those involved, but also for, you know, broadly speaking, the internet in general that's seen it. I hope that they enjoy the video. I hope that it sticks in their mind. And I hope they question when they see allegations like this come out in the future. What I don't want to happen is when somebody, you know, makes an allegation, I don't want them to shit down their throat instantly and not believe them. That is one fear. I feel like we did a good job of making that not happen. People will run, you know, whatever way they want anyway. But I think we did a good job of saying, like, you know what, like the Dawn thing could be true. Even if it is true, here's why everyone's still fucked up.
Like in regard to Super Mega especially, I understand. The meaning. It's like, it would be like delusional for us to, or like for it to be framed even in the sense of like, don't trust victims, you know what I mean, or whatever. It's more like, definitely listen, obviously, and definitely take, you know, allegations seriously. But it's certainly something where like allow nuance to bleed in a little bit, you know what I mean? Like, because, and the big thing is like, Lex obviously can absolutely, and you know, all the power to her to say her story and all this. But yeah, when it's then kind of used, or it becomes like a weaponized thing, again with Nick, but like as you kind of paint the picture and as it seems pretty clear, like, you know, this group was trying to weaponize all of these circumstances, all this information. The central point of it was this essay that allegedly occurred, right? But by using this essay as like the point of this like sword or whatever, they really like distracted from the fact of like the actual, you know, inciting incident, the essay or whatever. It was so much of that fucking literal, so much of the coverage and everything was about the Super Mega, basically, you know, situation in regard to this. It's like a big fucking mess. That's basically every time I visit this thing, I'm just like, wow, what a mess.
That's why the video had to be 2.5 hours. Like it couldn't be 40 minutes to get it all in there. Another frustrating thing about Nick's video, just to go back to that, is he says something to the effect of like, all this drama and stories have distracted from Lex's original sort of essay claim. And the frustrating thing about that to me is I don't think Nick is in a position to complain about that, when the reason why my video exists, the reason why all this happened, is because Lex herself, in the same breath as that story, she also brought up all this other shit, like her being made homeless, which is not even real. And then Nick, he further twisted that in another way by bringing in Leighton's shit, by bringing in Morgue Pie's shit, by making it a big drama video where, you know, 1/3 of it is Lex's essay story, and the rest of it is all these random stories about like Ryan cheating or something, or like Matt cheating supposedly, and then like Ryan sleeping with fans, and like I just don't think that that even needed to be in there. But that was all fucked from the start, and it's like, so he can claim that that's a problem, but like he and Lex. And really Nick, I think, is the one I really want to put the onus on with his videos, are the reasons why it became about other shit. And that's why the drama got to a level where it did. Imagine how much differently things would have gone if Lex made a 5-minute long video and a statement saying that she got sexually assaulted by this Don guy, and that was it. You know, imagine how much more concise and how much bullshit could have been avoided. But obviously hindsight's 20/20 for us right now.
Yeah, or if she had just, you know, if she basically had left it at more or less like, you know, Super Mega mishandled this, right? Because there is some aspects that, yeah, they did mishandle, right? But like,
I feel like to me though, like once again, like Nick makes this statement in all the videos, and even in the most recent one, he's like, part of the reason that I'm criticizing them is for things that they themselves have admitted to. They covered up a sexual assault, and it's like, that's not what they admitted to. What Matt admitted to was accidentally putting Lex in a situation where she had to confront her alleged abuser, right? Covering it up, he claims he did not cover it up. His claim is she told him she didn't want it out there, and she in her own video at one point even says, she's like, I didn't want it to be a thing, right? Which to me kind of confirms his story of that conversation. And so,
yes, this is something that actually I was surprised, basically that I had like pretty consistency, because I've been literally covering this like same, like basically from the start, and that was the main thing that I was like, oh yeah, Super Mega fucked that up, was when like Ryan somehow had sent Lex to the same place as Dawn, or sorry, my bad, Matt had sent Lex to the same place.
And that is a fuck up, but it's not a malicious thing. Right. And it's also not covering up sexual assault. And what Nick claims is that they covered up sexual assault.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and that was the way that I basically posed it originally, was like, I was just trying to understand, like, did they maliciously cover this up or whatever, or was this like just them being idiots? And I was kind of leaning toward, like, in terms of them being malicious or not, I don't think there's enough to show they're malicious. I do feel like it is one of those things where, like, these guys are just fucking amateurs, bro. This does feel like it probably just, they didn't really know how to handle this situation, you know what I mean? And then Nick has like a particular comment that is fascinating to me, where he says, I think it was in his response video, which was obviously, you know, he was on the defense in his first response video, where he basically said, like, I think anyone would have handled this better than they did.
This was handled very poorly, and most people in their shoes would have handled it much differently.
And in my opinion, like, I'm not gonna, again, they didn't handle it great, but like, to say anybody would have handled it better, to me is kind of surprising. Like, I don't
think almost anyone who's never dealt with this before would have handled it well. Like,
yeah,
it's an extremely unique situation you don't come across. Clearly to me, looking at like Nick and Ethan, they probably would have handled it even worse.
Yes.
And there's no doubt in my mind about that. At the very least, Matt and Ryan tried to be amicable. They tried to talk to all parties involved. Once they thought they came to a proper conclusion, they did cut off the guy in question eventually, right? They did. They fired him, they kicked him out, they made no contact anymore. And at least according to them, they tried their best to respect the victim's wishes as well. On top of that, we know that Matt messaged Rubber Ross when Rubber Ross was about to collaborate with Don and told him, hey, this guy might be fucked up. Probably don't work with him. So that's another like point in favor of Matt. So I find it very...
From what I remember, the only thing that Nick harps on, I believe, is basically that I think it was Ryan liked one of Don's photos, like maybe months later or whatever. And I don't know the exact context around that, but I guess that could be seen as like a semi-legitimate thing, but it is like a weird, you know, it's like, is liking a photo, you know what I mean, like an endorsement or whatever. Maybe it was a funny image. I don't know. Like, basically, like, if that's like the only real or whatever like kind of context he's bringing in to say like, no, they covered this up, this was a total cover up, it's like, Nick, what the fuck?
When he likes that photo, like, he was already fired is the thing. Like, I don't really put a lot of value into liking photos unless it's part of a much larger trend. If he had liked that photo and then he was also in his DMs like, "Hey man, I still love your art. By the way, I don't believe any of that shit from that dumb bitch." Like if he had said like, "Okay," then but obviously that's the most extreme example. But if there was one more in the middle, I would be more willing to understand. But even at that rate, like it's not covering it up, it's liking a photo, right? And this is the most perplexing thing to me is how Nick can see this as covering it up when like there's no cover up going on. Like what was the action they did to hide it? Like should they genuinely have disrespected Lex's wishes in the first place and just told the story publicly like on their channel? That seems insane to me.
This is why your video, like the part to me that was, you know, obviously I'm a little bit interested, but the part that I thought I was just like, oh, this is fucking like you're nailing it, was when you were basically covering Nick's first video, but especially his response video, because you were very clearly laying out like how little thought he was actually putting in, how little foresight his words had, you know what I mean? Where it's like, bro, you're not even like you're saying what Ryan and Matt should have done, and you're literally ignoring the fact of like Lex has her own wishes about what should have been done, you know what I mean?
Nick basically had a conclusion in mind, and the conclusion was Matt and Ryan or Super Mega are full of horrible people, and he was willing to say anything to justify that. And one thing he was willing to say is that they genuinely should have disrespected a victim's wishes to not tell a story publicly about her assault. They should have disrespected that.
Right.
And because they didn't, they are bad people. That is insane.
And he says basically just to protect fans. Is that what he was saying basically?
Yeah, and it's like he's like, you could have made a statement that was vague to protect fans, and it's like, well, obviously, if you make a statement of any kind, then the fans are going to be like, well, what the fuck is going on?
Well,
and they're going to try to figure it out. Like you can't just give a vague statement like, stay away from this guy, but I can't say why. Like that doesn't work.
Especially in these communities, because I know that these guys are kind of spawned a little bit from the Game Grumps. Like the Game Grumps community, there's still people who do lore videos about like why JonTron left. You know what I mean? Like this shit is a big deal if you like hint that there's any malice or whatever. It's just. Yeah, if you're trying to just...
Of course, there's like big parasocial audience around this, right?
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah, no, but like focusing on Nick, I like that angle because I've kind of maintained this, but it's like Lex and a lot of the other people involved, even Leighton in my like again, I'm not saying that Leighton has no culpability, absolutely. Like clearly that guy was very, very, very interested in, you know, seeing Super Mega's downfall. But the Leighton guy, you know, he is not like a guy who is a fucking commentator. He doesn't know how the internet, you know, works in terms of like, sorry, he knows that, but like in terms of like as a, what would you say, like a source of information. Whereas Nick is literally like his entire job is to, I've already basically explained this before, but like his job is to point at people and like have people throw paint at those people. You know what I mean? It's basically like, it's not necessarily commentating. I actually don't view it as commentating oftentimes. It's literally like kind of point at, laugh at that person who did bad thing or like.
There's not a lot of real commentary on like why it's wrong or like trying to understand the psyche of this person. It's like, this guy is a weirdo, haha, like that's it's a super surface level. And I say this as someone who, at least on my second channel, is very like relatively service level. He is super service level, and so from that perspective, I find it interesting to understand kind of the mind of someone who watches him. He says in this My Drama with Super Mega video, he even says that he doesn't think his wider TikTok audience will even care about his apology and they'll stick around. And he's probably right, you know? He says that, yeah. He's like...
Why would he even make a point of saying that?
He says that point basically to try and justify, like, well, I didn't do it for views because my audience doesn't really care about Super Mega. They care about TikTok drama.
Well, okay. Let me paint a different angle. Again, we're talking about intention now, and like to a certain level, we can't literally say like this was his intent. But if we're gonna fucking, you know, speculate, as we all know, I love to speculate.
True.
Yeah. No, but he was basically obviously saying his prime thing was that he wanted to amplify Lex's voice. I've kind of explained numerous times how that seems suspect to me as a prime motivation. I think he believes that his prime motivation was that, but I think that there were other variables that were influencing him. And I do think, I've explained this before, but I do think that a degree of it was wanting to be, you know, perceived as a guy who not just offends his friends, but like is a literal, like a social justice advocate, like a guy who, you know, if you're going through a situation like this, like Nick is the guy who will defend you or whatever, you know what I mean? There's a certain level of like, he feels like he's an agent of justice, right? And so in a situation like this where, bro, like the fact that he mishandled this is just, to me, so fucking like clear and evident, and he has very heavily undermined Lex's own situation, in my opinion, due to mishandling it. In a situation like this, he still basically wants to keep that martyrdom, or like that kind of like he was just trying to do what was right type of veil, right? Again, which I think he believes. It's a complicated, you know, if we're actually trying to, you know, speculate about someone's psyche, it's a bit complicated. But so a big part of that is like, there's a lot of stuff you were just mentioning where he's not like taking full ownership or accountability or like fully walking it back. The only thing that you said that he fully walks back is the Daniel thing. And I would guess that the reason for that is because that was something where it's like, oh, he disrespected Ryan's trauma. That's something that Nick's audience would understand as like, oh, Nick, that's fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. Does that make sense? Like, he breached the social contract that he is socialized in by disregarding Ryan's trauma in relation to that. So he has to concede on that. But like all the other points, you know, he can basically double down and say like, oh, no, these guys are bad guys. I did basically the right thing. I was trying to help my friend. Maybe I regret doing it, but the regret is because people have taken this info and have maliciously tried to, you know, harass Lex, which to me speaks to him trying to paint himself as a fucking victim. Okay. And as he says himself, he's not a fucking victim. He's the reporter, okay? You shouldn't be victimizing yourself as the fucking reporter, all right? If you're getting criticism, like, you better fucking learn from it. Otherwise, you'll have a repeat.
Yeah, in the video, he sort of complains about harassment, which is like YouTube comments. I just don't care, man. I don't care.
Well, yeah, it's literally like, dude, every single time that Nick makes a video about anyone, they're going to fucking get tons of harassment. You know what I mean? Like,
do you think he's never considered this? Because to me, Nick comes across to me... Destiny and I talked about this. He was like, Nick is a bully, but he's a bully who does it under the guise of like, well, I'm bullying for the right reason. There's a specific quote Destiny uses. He's like, these people like this subscribe to the belief that there's no bad tactics, only bad targets, which is basically to say that any action against someone who is like, you know, unethical is justified. Yeah. And so in this case, it was, you know, basically just spreading a bunch of bullshit. What I'm really curious about is if we'll get any kind of response from like Pethan. Probably not. Probably not, but I would like to see some kind. Lex apparently is making a response. I don't know if that's going to be a video. I think it'll probably be just like a statement if I had to guess. But I guess we'll see. Yeah. Yeah, overall, I'm just curious what, like, man, I would pay like $4,000. I wouldn't pay that much money. I would pay some amount of money to get to have a conversation with these guys where I get to like talk to them and they can't lie and you can actually like analyze everything. Like, that would be so fascinating to me.
Yeah, I feel this. It's funny you say that because like every time I make like a, you know, like a very critical video, I do like empathize to an extent where it's like, I want to know where the fuck you're coming from because you clearly believe yourself. You know what I mean? The thing with Nick, I've been just taking a little gander because I'm trying to gain a bit of context because the thing that is important to take note of is that this was not the first time that he, you know, according to himself, bungled, you know, allegations or whatever, because during the Gus Johnson situation, although public opinion absolutely, you know, sided with him and Sabrina, there was like some kind of disagreement. There was some backlash from the way that he covered that. And
has he acknowledged that he fucked that up?
Well, precisely. So I haven't seen anything publicly where he acknowledges that, but he did take down that video. So that's not...
Oh, did he?
Yes. So this is the second time that we know of where Nick basically removed the video where he mishandled. Again, I'm assuming he thinks he mishandled it, but you know, whatever.
You know when that was taken down?
That's actually a really good question. I believe I tried to look into that, but we would probably be able to tell if we went on Social Blade.
So if I had to guess, if you were to ask him, he would say the reason why he took it down is to prevent Abelina Sabrina from being harassed.
Right.
That's probably what he would say.
Which is weird, but because obviously like he took his sweet fucking time to take, these super mega videos down, right? Yeah, it would be interesting to, I guess, find that out. But, all I'm saying basically is that it's not like this has just been, something that he has been, succeeding at doing flawlessly, and then this is just a blip. It's like, no, his tactics, his methods have garnered him criticism, in my opinion, valid criticism, and this is just the most egregious example, right?
Right.
I guess to date, right? And so the idea basically that like he, I guess, again, it's not a matter of like he could have made, absolutely without a doubt, he could have made a super mega video. It's not about any of that bullshit. It's like, no. You literally rushed it out for very nebulous and suspect seeming reasons. And
there's even like an editing mistake, I think, where he repeats himself.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not sure. But I just remember he states in that video, the first one that he makes, he states that he recorded it at like 10 p.m. that night.
Hey everyone, hope you're having a good Saturday. I'm currently shooting this video on Friday night at about 10:30 p.m.
And then it was uploaded before 1 p.m. the next day. So like within 13-ish hours overnight, he turns out this whole 40-minute video that is literally accusing people of like extremely serious fucking things. And I say accusing because he's taking the allegations that he's reading off Reddit and he is literally throwing it back in their fucking face and saying like, no, yeah, they did this shit. These guys suck, right? It's absolutely very, very sinister levels of hubris on his end, because it's like, you really don't have any affinity for the truth. Like, this really feels like you believed your friend, obviously, otherwise you probably wouldn't have made that video, but you clearly were just like totally just out of the realm of possibility of like, oh yeah, maybe these guys, maybe there's something more to this, maybe there's like nuance. Yeah, and it does come back to it, like he's obviously going to claim it was just to help Lex, but like people have many motivations in life, and I don't think that was his only motivation in that instance. Yeah.
Well, the thing that speaks to me about motivation, maybe if we're gonna get really speculative here,
fuck it, we're just
since
having
we're on
fun.
a live stream, which is what live streaming is for.
Yeah, I mean, we're just having fun. This is just fucking just chatting shit.
I think it's sort of a combination of their personal ideology is pretty perfectly outlined to me by this shirt that Ethan wears, which says "Women don't owe you shit" on it.
Okay.
And I agree with that statement. Women don't owe you shit. But to wear a shirt with that and wear that as your identity is like, I'm the guy who understands what women want and what women are like, and like what is right and wrong for a guy to do. Takes a certain kind of person.
I always find it fascinating when people wear like their like things like that on their shirt. Like if even like Sneeko has merch that's just like a libertarian like flag or something like that, I'm just like, okay, it's like you're looking for an identity. But anyway, sorry, go on.
Well, they are looking for identity. And I think they found their identity with that. And their other part of the identity was as content creators and huge fans of Super Mega, which is why it felt so personal to them when Lex basically told Nick and Ethan that they don't respect women, basically, right? That's what they heard. And that's why it became so personal to them. It's like they were huge fans. So it felt like a giant knife twist when they find out, like, oh, maybe they aren't the super ultra progressive guys that we thought they were. They're not handling allegations exactly the way that we want them to. Lex feels this way, and obviously, as we know, Nick basically took Lex's statements as complete fact.
Right.
Ethan obviously took it as complete fact. I mean, come on, he's smitten. And so as a result, and even with stuff that Leighton said about the N-word jokes or stuff like that, it's like that is stuff that really cuts deep to someone like Nick or to someone like Ethan. That pisses them the fuck off. And so they saw it as like, the way I put it, I can't remember where I put it this way, but it's sort of like a disgruntled like son or like disgruntled ex-boyfriend thing, where it's like, we used to have a relationship, I liked you, and now it's like this giant betrayal, betrayal. Personally. Yeah. So sorry, you're thinking it is more like a scorned fan thing and not like a resentment thing, like for being whatever, like ignored or whatever. Like, is there any? I think it's definitely a scorned fan thing because they hadn't met them before, from what I understand, and they were pretty nice to them. But definitely part of it is sort of a resentment thing. I think that we'll go speculative again. Nick's comments about a super mega is like not very impressive to me. Read as like projection for his own shit, which is like not very impressive. Because at least, I mean, if you want to talk about it this way, at least super mega built an audience off of their own personality. Right. A drama YouTuber like Nick has built his audience off of talking about other people's personalities and things that other people do. Oftentimes people who are more successful than himself, and he reduces videos about them in their life to a few character flaws throughout a 40-minute video where he's like, they suck, haha, TikTok said this, whatever. And that probably speaks to some insecurity he has.
Yeah, a big part that I kind of was like just thrown off by in Nick's first video about Super Mega, and I think the reason why I could tell like this was like emotional for him, like he does believe himself, he was pissed off, and this is why he made it, part of why he made it, was like there's just weird digs at like how they play Trucker Simulator or whatever the hell.
Yeah, it's like, why would that be in there? That has to be that's intentionally in there too.
Yeah, and he said at least twice that he has like a real job basically, in comparison to Super Mega, which is absolutely like crazy to me. Because
even in the most recent video, he was like, "Why would I care whether or not you keep or lose your dying YouTube channel?"
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Jesus. Anyway. Yeah, but so basically, like, to me, it's like there's definitely a level of like like it's not just malice, sorry, but it's like he really doesn't like, he's actually like when he thinks of these guys, like it's a write-off, like he really doesn't feel bad for them at all, doesn't give a fuck, because he's, again, like these are just insults you don't need to include if you're like, fucking like being a impartial guy, which he's not claiming to do at all, but again, there's problems with the way there's problems with the way he went about it, but like specifically though with the way that like Trucker Simulator, the fact that Super Mega could even upload Trucker Simulator episode 72 and it gets like over 50,000 views is like,
that's crazy. That's impressive.
That's crazy. That speaks
I couldn't fucking do that.
Bro, that speaks to a real fan base. And like Nick's own response on this, you were saying, I guess, is getting like underwhelming views. That kind of shows like people are not his fans, but a lot of them are not there for him. They're
there for the situations he talks about.
Precisely.
And at this point, his fans are bored of the situation, which is why this one's not getting used.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, it's almost like
I keep up the firework, Goki,
there's a bit of a awareness that like he's a bit parasitic, you know what I mean? Like his content.
Which is by the way, I don't like, I'm a drama YouTuber. I don't give a shit.
Yeah, it's literally the same here, bro.
But it's like there's a hypocrisy there.
Yeah. There's definitely something going on there. I
think that is projection. I think it is clearly projection to me. And it's even like stuff like I think Nick is probably someone who wants his music to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
And he like shits on the quality of Matt Watson's music. Now, I've never heard Matt Watson's music. I don't really want to. It's probably not my thing based on, him, whatever. No offense, Matt, but just not my thing. But the fact that Nick felt the need to go out of his way to like shit on it makes me feel like there's something going on there, especially when he and Ethan used to praise Matt's music and be like, this is so Beck, this is so Pixies, like this is so cool, like
it's funny too, because like that's one thing that I actually like was just like I can't even really hate, like their music is like it's half meme music, and it's totally like probably like dog shit to any connoisseur, but I'm not a music guy. And I listen to their music and I'm like, oh, this is catchy. Like, I could see why this is
Matt Watson's or Queef Jerky?
Sorry, I'm talking about Queef Jerky, yeah. Like,
okay. I actually have barely heard it.
Yeah, I think the main one is like Pineapple Upside Down.
Pineapple upside down, yeah. In the toilet, I make a brown, yeah. In the ocean, yeah. I drown, yeah. Make some motion to the sound, yeah.
It's so stupid, but like it does give me almost Filthy Frank levels of like it's a meme, but it also sounds good. I don't know how to put it exactly, but yeah.
Gotcha.
But yeah, the another weird thing is I found out Nick was very religious. He was raised like in a very religious way.
They seem like Protestants. I was a Protestant. I was like a hard Protestant when I grew up.
Yeah.
Up until I was like 18 or 19. So I was very like, I was in rock band church, like evangelical, not like mega church vibes, but like getting there,
I think if we're going to make an interesting, since we're just having fun here, if we're going to make an interesting fucking diametric, comparison or whatever, there actually is a strong degree of almost a religiosity to a lot of cancel culture, if you know what I mean. And I'm not speaking in a real religious sense. I just mean more in the sense of like the sanctimoniousness, the projection of pious, and important one is like channeling resentment to seek justice. That's like a big part of why religion historically has been like very, successful and obviously influenced people a lot. Is like a lot of wars have been justified through religion. This isn't a war, okay? But, it's just to say like, people
Internet war.
Yeah, people who have a religious foundation, sometimes they can be primed to ignore nuance and like have blind faith in like, oh, I'm just seeking justice, like this is improper, whatever. And that's like ideology.
No, there definitely is a reverence to it. I mean, even to this day, the idea that like anything Lex could have done would be in bad faith, a mistake, or dishonest is something that like Nick has never acknowledged, even in his most recent video.
Yeah, which is a little bit.
He doesn't acknowledge any dishonesty from Lex.
Yeah, which is again, fair enough. Like that's his angle, obviously, and he's her friend. Like he's literally like supporting his friend. But it's like obviously you're not coming at it from like the most intellectually honest position or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I found the shirt. Sorry that you're mentioning. Women don't know your shit. That's pretty funny.
There's a picture of Ethan wearing it. I think with Nick in the picture. It's a really fire picture.
Really? Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know if I have it on hand, but
no worries.
Maybe someone in chat could find it. But overall, pretty underwhelming response. But I don't know. I didn't expect that much to begin with. I'm done talking about the situation apart from here on your stream. I'm probably not going to talk about it past this point, unless something like this happens again. And I have a feeling that whether or not Nick thinks he did the right thing here, I think in a sort of, pursuit of survival, he probably will realize that he did something wrong here. He fucked up. People don't like it. And he probably won't do something like this, at least for a while.
Right. Yeah. You're saying basically like, there's obviously the public face that he has to maintain of like, everything that he's basically doing. But like deep down, he's like, yeah, I can't do that again. Like that was
exactly
aggressive.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I understand.
He realizes he has flown too close to the sun.
A little bit. Yeah. Do you have any like? I'm always curious, just because for me it's always the case. But like, do you have any like empathy or like, do you have any kind of credence you want to give Nick? Just because I mean, sometimes it's nice, when you make like a big video that makes someone look very bad. It's nice to hear the more nuanced thoughts you have.
There is a level of empathy, I think, just wanting to believe your friend. Wanting to think that your friend would not lie about something like this, wanting to think their intentions are good, and there's a level of empathy in I've had it happen to me where I've been a fan of a content creator and then found out that they're not the way they seemed,
Right.
So there is a level of empathy I have for him, but it only extends to a certain point. It stops when the situation becomes public, basically, and his actions start affecting others. At that point, the empathy kind of stops, it curtails, and you just have to, I think realistically look at the situation and be like, this is fucked up. I think that regardless of how people may feel, what happens is how their feelings translate into action. And Nick's actions in this situation were horrendous. But I'm under the impression he probably won't do it again, at least for a while. So, he's not going to become like a rogues gallery person. Like I've talked about him. That's it. Hopefully it doesn't happen again. And I'm not gonna milk it anymore. I'd say 2.5 hours. I've milked it enough.
Yeah, no, I respect that. Yeah, he flew into the online domain. He fucking said what he said, and you criticized what he said, and that's pretty much all there is to it. You know what I mean? You don't.
I criticized what he said, and he deleted what he said, and he's made a new statement saying he probably won't do it again, even if his justification for which I think is bad. I'm relatively happy with that,
Yeah.
I honestly, there was a possibility in my mind that he would come out swinging, which in that case, it would have been really war mode.
Right. Yeah.
He didn't do that. He didn't even say my name or Destiny's name in this video.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that makes sense. Like, I really don't think his goal is to like get in fights over this or whatever. I think he also wants to like be fucking done with it. I'm surprised, to be honest, that he responded at all. But I do think the reason he responded at all was because of Ryan's statement and then his response. You know what I mean? He kind of lost that, like, the moral high ground a little bit. No, I definitely think you're right in that he basically, like, this is pretty much the best response he probably could have got, in the sense of, like, technically probably he's doubling down on a lot of it that he shouldn't, but the core intention for justifying you making your video is like, okay, hopefully this won't happen again, right?
It seems to me like it won't, and it also seems to me that any remaining damage that was left being done by Matt and Ryan, outside of Matt and Ryan's responses, because their responses did fix quite a bit. Any remaining damage, I think, is fixed, and I think this has kind of put a nice bow on the situation, to the point where I'm not really even excited for Lex's response. I can imagine what she's going to say, I think.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I will say that I find curious is, so you probably remember when this situation first went down, Super Mega loses like 50,000 subs, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those subscribers never came back. Those 50,000 people are still gone. I'm curious where they are. Are there still 50,000 people from their audience that were mad at them? Or like, were they just like almost inactive subs who just unsubbed when they heard anything? Like, I'm curious who those people were.
Yeah, that's a good question, I guess. It's possible that like the same people who watched Nick's video just wouldn't watch yours, like, on principle, if you know what I mean. Like, this is like a thing, like, you know what I mean? Like, Destiny especially has like a fucking a label. He has like red paint on him, you know what I mean? There's like communities that basically they see Destiny and they're like, yeah, fuck, don't even engage or whatever.
To an extent, I have that. It's not nearly as extreme, but it does exist.
We
talked about that a little bit. We saw that on like subreddits and stuff. Like, oh, why does it have to be these guys to say it? You know?
Yeah. That's it's an interesting thing because I don't know. The idea of not really, like, not being basically honest because of who you're dealing with is like kind of interesting to me. But yeah, whatever. Okie dokie. So what kind of unhygienic actions are you planning on committing within the next week?
Well, tomorrow I'm planning to go to the gym and not shower. I might shower in like a week or so, but I've been building up a good layer. It's actually to the point where my skin on the outside is sort of hardened because there's just a lot of dried sweat and stuff. It also collected a good amount of so dandruff is obviously existent with everyone. There's a little bit of dandruff maybe, but I've developed a serious dandruff problem lately.
Right.
It's sort of getting stuck to the sweat layer that I have on my skin. So that's been pretty good.
And that's to protect you from the acid rain falling on your head.
Exactly.
Right? Yeah. Okay, understood.
And another thing, and also to protect me from something that might smell good. Another important thing.
Okay, just to clarify, there's no, like, I do want to be gross. Yeah.
Yeah, no. We want to smell like shit. Another important thing that's going on is, so when you have socks and they're kind of shitty and you get these little fuzzy wuzzies in your bed?
Yes.
Well, because I refuse to take a bath, the fuzzy wuzzies are all getting stuck to me. So I've got sort of like a polka dot effect going on.
Okay,
from
thank
these
you
little
for
fuzzies.
coming on, Tom. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
I'll talk to you later.
Can I just talk about my feet
God
for
bless.
1 second?
Everyone, buy Goka merch. Go to gokamerch.com.
So my nails I haven't trimmed in a few months either.
Fucking suck my ass. Fuck off. Get the fuck out of here, Tom. You can go to gokamerch.com and pick up the Memento Mori shirt. I think it looks pretty good. I'm wearing a large. We've got a bunch of fun stuff there. And the prices are, in my opinion, the most reasonable you'll find on YouTube. Shirts aren't your thing? Subscribe to my Patreon, bro. Okay? I've got five Gokanaru main channel videos. Not Clips channel, not where you're watching right now. Main channel videos available on my Patreon right now, along with a lot of other fun stuff. So those are the best ways to support me.